Welcome to the RadioU podcast. Coming up, how much should Delta have to pay the passengers of the Toronto flipped over flight?
Also, red alert, the robots are taking over.
All that and more on the way next. For all the single ladies out there looking to find love, I have the key. You know where to turn when you're a single lady and you need love.
Oh, no.
To me, I have the answer.
No.
I have the answer. It's the answer is Madeline Salazar's answer. She's blown up on TikTok in part because of her creative way to kick off conversations with her matches on dating apps. What she has started doing is photoshopping herself into the pictures that the guys will have on their profile, just to kind of make it like, this is what it could look like if we were together.
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't have a 100% hit rate, but she has gotten, it looks like, numerous dates. She's had some success with it, and people really seem to like it on TikTok. So this could be the answer if you need a new way. Now, the market might get oversaturated a little bit, just loads up too much. But it's definitely a fun way to kind of get things going, because starting a conversation on a dating app is hard.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like, I don't know. If coming from a perspective, if somebody did this to me, I would be creeped out.
Well, yes. This is a total double standard. If any guy does this, they're a serial killer. They will murder you and probably commit other crimes too. And so, yes, men cannot do this.
So women can.
No, yes, they can.
I mean, okay, I wouldn't choose to do this. I think it's a little odd, but I mean, like you said, some of the conversations she has are very cute or whatever that she posts in these TikToks that have now gone viral. But yeah, I personally would not choose to do something like this.
I think it's a fun idea that shows that, you know, it lets you picture what it would be like to be together. And especially because she does not just choose the standard picture. I feel like she almost and I mean, gals are like this, right? Like, you want a guy that's got interesting pictures on his dating profile. You just don't want some headshots of him sitting in his room or whatever.
Right.
You want to see that he's out and about doing stuff, different things. And so she will pick ones where the guys are out and about doing interesting things that you wouldn't expect her to Photoshop herself into. Those are some of the big success stories, like the one where, why are they both wearing like reflective vests? Did you see that one?
No.
Okay, there's one where they're wearing life jackets on a boat. And that's one that she turned into a date. And that's like, out of all the pictures, like, you know, it's one thing if it's like a picture from a wedding or something where the guy's dressed up and it's like, oh, this is what it would look like if we were, you know, on a date at this wedding. Instead, but she's taking pictures where a guy is biking on a bridge. And she's like, we need to get matching jumpsuits for the biking or whatever. Like that. It's fun.
Did you see that the one with the life jackets actually did get her a real date?
Yeah, it worked out.
It worked out.
At least for one date.
Yeah.
I don't know from there.
I mean, I guess I'm turning around to this idea.
It's a fun idea.
I think it's adorable with some of the pictures that she does. She does it in an adorable way.
Yeah.
I just personally don't feel like I would do this, but she pulls it off. You know what I mean? I don't want anyone else to do it, but she pulls it off.
It's a one-of-one thing.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a one-off, and for whatever reason, it works for her. Also, props to her for the Photoshop skills. These aren't that bad.
They look pretty good. They pretty believable. And I just, once again, I don't want any guys to get the wrong idea. If you're a man, absolutely do not
don't do this.
Photoshop yourself into any woman's profile pictures on dating apps. It will not go well for you. I really believe that.
Yeah.
If you've never experienced, or if you ever have experienced Wendy's AI drive-thru, let us know your thoughts at 8772 RadioU. And if you haven't, you're probably about to, because Wendy's just announced that after they've been testing it since 2023, their fresh AI voice assistant will be going nationwide coming up here soon at all 6,000 plus U.S. Wendy's locations. Allie, have you experienced the AI Wendy's drive-thru?
Well, we should clarify that they're not adding them all to the 6,000 just yet, but they're thinking if it goes well, if this expansion that they're about to do goes well, then they will try and take it to all 6,000. So don't worry yet. It's not coming for everybody, but I have experienced the AI one. There's 2 Wendy's near where I live. One of them has it, one of them doesn't. The first time I went, I thought it was like the little voiceover that sometimes they record.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, where it's like, thank you for coming to Wendy's, get your app ready or blah, 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 you know? And so I was just kind of waiting because that's what you do. You just wait until you hear.
I've been trained to ignore the first thing they say.
Right, because sometimes you'll start talking and they'll be like, hold on 1 second. And it's like, oh, okay, sorry, I thought it was real. Or
the other thing is that they record a question, would you like to try our new whatever?
Right.
And then you go, if you say yes, that doesn't mean anything because nobody's listening to
No one's listening to you.
They're not like, all right, I'll add that in.
Yes, waiting for your response. Yeah. I just don't typically respond to that until I hear an actual voice of someone talking to me.
Yeah.
So the AI did throw me off a little bit because I was just waiting to hear a voice. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to order.
What did it say after that? Did it go are you still with me?
I don't remember if it did or not. This was a while ago. I haven't been back to this Wendy's in a while.
As you shouldn't, because the AI drive-thrus suck. We have our very own Chris here as well, who has the best of the AI drive-thru at Wendy's stories, because I believe that he was trying to order a normal whatever, a 4 for $5 or whatever it is.
4 for $5?
That's what it is, isn't it?
You mean the $5 biggie bag?
Yeah, but it was always the 4 for $4 for
it
a
was
while
the 4
back
for $4.
in the good old days.
Yeah.
Which isn't even that long. It was 3 years ago.
And then they switched it to the $5 biggie bag.
4 for $5. You still get 4 things for $5, right?
I have never heard someone refer to it as 4 for $5. It's just the $5 biggie bag.
4 for $5. Chris is trying to order that. Maybe he said that, and that's why it threw off the AI. Because then it was
I guarantee you, Chris did not say the 4 for $5.
It's the AI says, did you like 66 chicken nugget orders or whatever? And he's like, no, I do not want that. I do not want 66 chicken nugget orders of chicken nuggets, whatever it was. It was some astronomical amount of chicken nuggets. And and that's what you're liable to get with any of the AI things. You just don't know. Granted, to be fair, sometimes the people make that same mistake.
They'll try and give you 67 orders of chicken nuggets?
They'll mess up your order.
Well, they'll mess up the order, but they're not going to mess it up that badly.
Yeah, usually they give you not as much as you hope for. They put tomatoes on something you didn't want tomatoes on. But messing up is messing up to me. But I think, humans are less likely to make mistakes than AI in this case. And at least they're less annoying to deal with as well. I hate the AI drive-thru.
Same.
Especially, too, because it doesn't even seem to me like it saves any trouble, because they still eventually have to get a human to confirm your order or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or if my experience, if I order in the app and I just go through the drive-thru and say, ordered an app, then they switch it to a person anyway. So it's just what are you even helping here?
You know what I want to know? You know when you're on the phone with a bank or something, or just any helpline, and you're talking to a bot or an AI or whatever, and you just keep saying, representative.
Yes.
Will that work with this Wendy's drive-thru?
I think that's exactly what you have to do. You 100% have to do that.
You're human, HUMA.
And the people behind you in the drive-thru are going to get annoyed. They're going to be honking at you. They're just just talk to the AI. Don't be difficult. And I'm like, no. I refuse to deal with this robot.
Yeah, just talk to the AI. I saw a hilarious video yesterday on Facebook that was down the line when we're all trying to figure out who's AI and who's not. Mm-hmm. The first thing we should do as a test is be spell vacuum. Does it have 2 C's? Does it have 2 U's? If you spell it right, you're an AI.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I was going to give it the Tim Robinson test and go, I want 55 burgers, 55 tacos, 55 fries, 55 chicken nuggets. And see how it handles that. Think in your mind how much money you would demand from Delta Airlines if you were on that flight from Minneapolis, Toronto that flipped over on the runway. How much would you want? Hopefully it's less than $30,000 because that's what they are offering. Each and every passenger that was on that flight is being offered $30,000. No questions asked. They get a $30,000 check, I guess, for simply being on that flight that flipped over. Do you feel like that's enough? Not enough? Too much?
I mean, I would imagine for some, the medical bills will probably be pretty steep, especially those that were in critical condition. So this is helpful in that way. Hopefully they had insurance. If not, then this is very helpful. But I mean, I'm happy that they are getting compensated in some way. I honestly didn't expect even that. But I guess this is there's a precedence for this type of stuff when some weird thing happens. So I don't think that there's any reason to be like, they need so much more than this. I'm sure there's people that are arguing that, but I don't even know what that amount would be. So,
I have to imagine they're offering the $30,000. And if you take it, that means you can't sue them or anything. But if this is what I'm guessing. I don't have that information right in front of me.
So they're just trying to get ahead of the lawsuits here.
They're like, is $30,000 each enough to keep any of you from suing us? And then I would have to. I mean, they have to pay in addition to the $30,000 for any other medical bills that the other people that actually went to the hospital have to face, right?
Yeah, that's key too.
$30,000 to them each passenger is probably nothing compared to the amount that I feel that they could be sued for by any individual, but I have no idea on that. I will say $30,000 is a pretty hefty amount too compared to some other similar incidents.
Okay.
Like one of the best examples would be going back to, I think it was 2009, when that was the flight that Sully landed on the Hudson River. All of those passengers, different airline, that was U.S. Airways, those passengers got $5,000 each.
Yeah, well, it was also a different time.
It was a different time. $5,000, everybody would laugh at that if you were offered that. After your plane flipped over now.
Yeah.
There was also many more passengers, like twice or three times as many passengers on that flight. So the total amount of money was kind of close. I also thought about this. $30,000 for these people that like 3/4 of the people walked away from the flight, didn't even have to go to the hospital, nothing, right?
Yeah.
There's people that get offered way less by Delta for being inconvenienced way more, even though their plane didn't flip over, that they have to like stay overnight places, like all the things that they have to go through. And they are not getting $30,000.
No.
Meanwhile, these people, their plane flips over. I mean, it makes sense, but also it doesn't make sense in some ways.
Well, I would think a part of it too is like, that's a very traumatizing experience. You may not be able to fly in a plane again.
Yeah, of course.
So that might be a part of it. You might seek therapy. You might seek, help in some way to try and get over that trauma. So yeah, I think this is a part of like you said, getting ahead of any lawsuits if they can. There's certainly going to be people that reject the $30,000 and will probably talk to a lawyer and maybe want to try and sue for millions because we see people do that all the time for coffee on their lap.
Yeah.
So with a plane being flipped, I would imagine you would try and get some money out of that too. So Delta's just trying to get ahead of that. But yeah, for a lot of these people, even though it's like they walked away unscathed, they're not unscathed.
Mentally.
Yeah, no.
As I ponder this for a minute, I feel like $30,000, you're not going to get less than $30,000 if you say no.
True.
You just have to wait for it. You have to go through all the hassle, but you're going to get more money if you're willing to deal with it.
I guess, yeah.
Because this is it's a crazy thing that happened.
It's absolutely insane.
If you had to eat an entire Costco chocolate cake, how do you think you'd handle it?
Not well.
Not well?
Not well. I don't do well with I don't typically like cake. As mainly because of the icing. It's just way too rich and too much sugar for me. So
one piece is enough.
One piece is enough, and most of the time I end up scraping the icing off and not eating it anyways.
Dang, yeah, and you're a full-grown human person.
Yeah.
So you would probably handle it a lot better than the Virginia opossum in Nebraska that was taken to an animal hospital. After it was experiencing difficulties, somebody found it, and it had eaten an entire Costco chocolate cake.
Oh,
they say it was panting a lot, so they brought it in. I guess they call it the Cake Bandit. It's supposed to make. It looks like. I mean, this was several days ago, so now it's made a recovery. It's back out in the wild, I suppose, and people are just absolutely relating to this to this possum. We've all been there. We've all been there. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. Maybe you've been through something.
You're panting.
Yeah, that's right. And your only friend is the Costco chocolate cake. And it's a miracle that we all haven't been hospitalized for similar reasons.
I mean, like I said, I probably wouldn't be fighting myself in these shoes because I know my limits. I can't do it. I just can't. But yeah, this is hilarious with people online. I just don't know how they come up with some of this stuff sometimes. Like, these responses. I'm like, you guys are so funny.
Yeah. Where somebody said, I relate to this possum on a spiritual level. Somebody said, to be fair, if I ate a whole Costco chocolate cake, I'd be panting a lot too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to this possum too, because if it could go through this, I believe it can go through anything.
Yeah.
This possum is possibly immortal.
This possum has a stomach of steel.
Yeah.
To be able to make it through this. Like, they didn't even mention if the possum ends up like getting sick as far as like throwing any of this cake up. Like, that's impressive. It's
actually amazing. And you think about it too, yet again, we're full-grown human people. If we probably outweigh this possum by, I don't know, I mean, for me, 150 pounds, at least more than this possum. And the Costco chocolate cake probably weighed as much as the possum
exactly.
does.
I don't know how it even was able to eat all of that.
It obliterated the whole thing.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the movie Matilda.
Yeah.
And it's actually the book too. But Bruce, when he has to eat all the chocolate cake, and he does it.
He pulls it off.
He almost gets sick, but he does it. And I'm gonna name this possum Bruce.
Yeah, it should be named. It should be named Bruce. I just nothing but respect for this possum. I wonder at what point through the cake the possum realized that maybe this was a mistake.
Maybe I should stop, but it just kept going.
Yeah. It powered through. It soldiered through. Sounds like Daredevil may not be the only Marvel star reborn in the cinematic universe. That's at least according to Brad Winderbaum, who is the head of streaming, television, and animation for Marvel. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he recently said that the studio is, quote, very much exploring the idea of bringing back Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist as they were portrayed in the Netflix streaming shows, which eventually led to The Defenders. Allie, this may not, especially after we found out that we are getting the Daredevil show and everything, it may not be surprising, but it is exciting, isn't it?
I mean, sure, it's exciting, but also I have to say, I don't feel like any of the shows quite lived up to the same hype as Daredevil. I really did like Jessica Jones. Luke Cage, I didn't like as much, and Iron Fist, I absolutely thought was abysmal.
Iron Fist was definitely, I think, universally thought of as the worst of the four.
Yeah, and the guy does say the plan would be to try and bring back Kristen Ritter, who would play Jessica Jones, Mike Coulter to play Luke Cage, and then Finn Jones to play Iron Fist.
You don't have to do that.
Like, come on, maybe recast. I mean, I definitely don't want them to recast Jessica Jones because I thought Kristen Ritter was awesome, and if they could bring David Tennant back somehow, that'd be awesome too. But yeah, I feel like I personally feel like this is getting a little ahead of themselves, which sometimes happens with these superhero franchises. It's like, just let us enjoy as fans this one thing first before you make us have to think about a whole nother universe again and all of these collaborations. I know that was a big thing a few years ago, but I feel like it's become less so now because we have seen after Marvel, finished up with Endgame, that it's actually really hard to do that well. And so we just continually see these superhero franchises do it badly.
Yeah.
And we don't want to see that anymore. So to me, I'm like, focus on Daredevil, make that good again, and then you can worry about these others maybe coming back. But just focus on one thing at a time. You don't need to worry about building this huge, expansive universe. If you can't do it well, we don't want it as fans.
Yeah, well, they don't all have to be connected either. And the shows were all better before they got to the Defenders.
Sure.
And then, had to find ways to connect everybody. It doesn't need to be done that way. And he's also he didn't offer any specifics whatsoever about whether they would be going back to their own solo shows or whether they would be involved in each other's shows and whatnot.
Right.
And, I just think except for Iron Fist, the Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, I enjoyed a lot in addition to Daredevil. And I think all three of those shows can stand on their own and be done again or brought back and continued and be done well. And I hope that they do that.
Yeah.
But I hope they don't feel the need to unnecessarily connect them too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Like as long as they are able to give those characters their due and, make sure that they actually pay, close attention to the shows and aren't trying to rush it and aren't trying to package it all together in this big thing, then that will actually be a product worthy of adding more lore to these characters. Other than that, it's like if you can't do it well, please stop. Please stop.
But I'm at the end of the day, I'm glad to say that it's something that is that's being talked about and a possibility rather than no, we will not do that.
Sure.
Because I liked Jessica Jones and Luke Cage a lot.
Yeah, same.
Love to see him again.
Same.
A future food fights that we are going to have in the works is going to be Krispy Kreme's new movie snack donut collaboration with Hulu. So here's two things you need to do. Listen up. One, there's 4 flavors of donuts. Rate them on how good they sound, but also how much they sum up the movie-going snack experience. Donut number 1 of Krispy Kreme and Hulu's movie snack donut line. The blue raspberry slush donut, which is an original glazed donut dipped in blue raspberry flavored icing and blue sanding sugar. Supposed to be like a slushy, like an icy. We talked about this recently, right? Like that's for a lot of people an iconic like you have to get a slushie when you go to the movies.
Yeah, for some it's a tradition. So I'm glad that they incorporated that into this line. That makes a lot of sense.
I guess that's a 10 out of 10 on movie experience.
Yes.
Wise. But I don't know that it sounds particularly good.
Yeah, the blue sanding. I mean, anytime I hear the word sanding, the last thing I think about is eating that.
Yeah.
But it might be good.
I think that just means it's like really fine, but it also has that like crisp to it. Not like powder.
Okay.
Then there's the caramel popcorn donut, which is a donut filled with caramel popcorn flavored cream filling, dipped in white icing, and caramel popcorn topped with drizzles of red icing. You can't have movie donuts without popcorn, but unfortunately I wish you could because that sounds horrible. That sounds like a horrible combo.
I mean, it doesn't sound, I don't know if it sounds horrible, but it doesn't sound like exactly what I thought it was going to be with a popcorn donut because there's a lot of savory donuts out there now. So I thought they would go for something more like that. But I don't know if I like the whole, the mix of flavors of what they've got going on.
It does not sound good. I'm afraid that when they're talking about like popcorn flavored filling, that's going to be fakey butter inside. Fake butter fill it. And then just the texture of actual popcorn being on a donut sounds nasty as well. However, visually, I mean that it actually looks amazing. It looks exactly like a popcorn, like a little, if you made a popcorn bucket into a donut, that's what it is. So that's a 10 out of 10 on, again, movie experience, but it sounds like a 0 out of 10 on taste.
Who knows? I might like it. I love popcorn, as we have talked about many times.
You do, to a fault. Next up is the Cookie Dough Superstar Donut, which is a donut filled with chocolate buttercream flavored filling, dipped in chocolate flavored icing, and topped with gold glitter sprinkles and cookie dough bites. Again, that's another one for many people that you go to the movies and that is when you get the cookie dough. I feel like they only sell the cookie dough bites in movie containers because they know that's when people eat them. The little movie size ones. I
kind of forgot that cookie dough is something that people buy at movie theaters. I'm more of a savory person, so I don't usually go for like the candy or chocolate, but I do love cookie dough. So this out of all the donuts, sounds like the one that I am most intrigued by.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with cookie dough.
No, cookie dough is amazing.
And I think a lot of people like to mix the cookie dough with the popcorn too. Like that's a popular thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
popular.
That'd be fun.
And then finally, another thing people like to mix with popcorn is M&Ms. And so this last donut is the candy double feature donut, which is a donut dipped in white icing, topped with milk chocolate candy pieces, aka M&Ms, off-brand M&Ms, mini milk chocolate chips, and chocolate flavored icing drizzles. Which honestly, when you're talking about a donut, that sounds the most normal.
Yeah.
Which also means it's probably the best out of all of these. And M&Ms too are popular because you can eat those and they're not messy while you're in a movie theater. So that sounds great.
Yeah, I don't hate any of those. I will say I was thinking there was going to be something with like a sour theme. You know, because a lot of people love like the sour stuff, like sour worms, Sour Patch Kids, something like that. So I thought they were going to go there, but they didn't. They stuck with everything sweet and a little bit of savory.
I was hoping they would do like pretzel dogs. Donut.
Yeah,
that sounds delicious.
Pretzels, yeah, I forgot that's a big one too.
And dogs, hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
On a donut. Okay. Why haven't they done that yet? Right now, I'm going to open up the RadioU hotline.
877-2-RADIO-U.
I want to know the item that you wear that is most likely to start a conversation with somebody. That just gets the most comments. Let us know at 877-2-RADIO-U. Maybe, I think in a lot of cases, some kind of shirt that says something on it.
Sure.
That literally with words is starting a conversation. Sometimes, though, it's just something that's very eye-catching. So I'm curious what people are wearing that's getting attention from others enough for strangers to start talking to you, which is a weird thing nowadays.
Yeah, strangers or just people that might not actually, come out and say something about your outfit. But do we want to go ahead and share ours? Or
go ahead and start.
Okay.
If you've got one.
I do. One that came to mind for me was I actually have a shirt that literally says, I am the literal worst.
Yeah. And what do people say when they see you wearing that?
Well, I think the reason why it starts a conversation is because below it is listed a scripture.
Oh.
And it's the scripture from 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 15. And that scripture says, the saying is trustworthy and deserving of full acceptance that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of who I am the foremost. So it's a little like play at that verse. So it says 1 Timothy 1:15, and then it also says Romans 3. But it says I'm the literal worst, and it's one of my favorite shirts to wear.
That's does the scripture get people to comment, or do they comment and then you talk about the scripture below it?
So most of the time people are like, well, what does that mean? Or whatever. Like, what do you mean you're the literal worst? And so they're trying to parse together almost the juxtaposition of listing Bible verses below it, but then on top saying I'm the literal worst. Like, well, what does that mean? And so that is an opportunity for me to share what that Bible verse says and kind of what it means.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
877-2-RADIO-U. Can you top that? What is your conversation starting clothing item? 877-2-RADIO-U. I'm already seeing a lot coming in, so we'll see what people are saying. I'll share mine, and a lot of good answers coming through. Bailey says his Travis Scott Jordan 1 low fragments. Oh, shoes. I was looking those up. They are pretty snazzy. They are pretty clean. I like that.
Let me go take a look at them.
I understand why that would get some attention. Although they're not like flashy, but they do look good. So I understand. I'm sure you get a lot of compliments, Bailey. Mickey says, and Susanna said something similar, their RadioU shirts are the most likely thing that people will comment on, because obviously you see another RadioU fan out in the wild, you got to stop them and say hello.
Yeah.
And exchange information, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
Max says, does this count, Allie? My prosthetic leg.
Oh, yeah.
He says somebody stopped him yesterday and started talking to him like they were long lost friends.
Aw.
He also says he wears shorts all year long. So you're asking for it, Max.
Yeah.
So you're inviting people. But I appreciate that.
Okay.
Because one time this happened to me. I worked with a woman at a different radio station, and I didn't see her much. and she had a prosthetic leg, but I didn't know.
Oh.
And so one time, like, I noticed her walking, like, again, one of the few times we crossed paths, and she was like, you know, she was walking with a prosthetic leg, not exactly the same, but I couldn't see because she was wearing pants or whatever. And so I'm like, why are you like kind of, you know, like, what's going on? And she's like, I have a prosthetic leg. She wasn't mad, but I felt really bad. I was like, well, I wish I knew that earlier. I wouldn't have said anything. Let's see. We heard from Nathan, who says, I have a shirt. I have a bunch of crazy shirts that I wear, but the one that gets the most comments is the one that says in big bold letters, surely not everyone was kung fu fighting. That's a good one.
I love that. I would wear a shirt like that.
Jacob says, I have numerous Demon Hunter shirts that spark conversation and a Corpus Christi shirt, a band we used to play on Radio U, Battery at least. It says, double pedal Jesus metal.
Nice.
I understand why that would catch attention.
Yep.
Similarly, Chad says he has his Demon Hunter Extremist shirt. He also has another Radio U throwback Battery band, A Plea for Purging. The way he describes the shirt is naked Andy, I guess from A Plea for Purging, shaking hands with an alien, and it says, take me to your eater.
Okay.
Okay. We heard from Regina, who says there's a band called Convictions, from Radio U Battery, and she has a shirt of theirs that has a cross upside down on the front and the band name, and on the back it says, I am unworthy, St. Peter.
Who was crucified upside down.
That would get some attention.
Yep.
The upside down cross. I guess all of mine are much different. Because mine is all, the top thing that I get comments on is I wear all kinds of old Montreal Expo stuff. And so that...
I think you got a compliment from my dad about your...
That's right. Yeah, when I met your dad, which is about the type of person that usually comments on that. Older, like, dad's not old, but like people much older than I that actually remember the Expos being a team.
Right.
Love to talk about the Expos. And so, yes, I do get many, I would say like 50... at least 40-year-old men over that will stop and say, is that an Expos hat? Yes, it is.
Yes.
I don't really remember them, but I would cheer for them if they came back.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, definitely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Allie, but I have to guess that tonight, the Four Nations Face-Off Championship between Canada and the U.S., the most excited you and probably most people in the U.S. for sure, and possibly Canada as well, it's the most excited you've been for a hockey game in your entire life.
Probably, yeah. I would say I have not watched this amount of hockey before. I have always like kept tabs on like the Blue Jackets and whatnot, but I've just not been the person that has gotten into hockey as like a sport that I watch a lot of. Mm-hmm. But after that first USA versus Canada game in this Four Nations face-off, I have been all in.
Yeah.
So I was so excited that the rematch was, it went forward like it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, as it's gotten closer and closer, the more excited I've got. I'm wearing my USA pullover today. Yeah. So I'm all in for this. I'm excited, but also nervous, if that makes sense. Like nervous that Canada is going to be coming out and being like, yeah, we are out for blood.
Well, listen, according to you're right to be nervous because according to the betting lines, it is a true toss-up tonight. The teams are absolutely like both teams are minus 110 on the money line, which means this could get, it's literally a 50-50 shot.
Yep.
Do you have, in your expert opinion, you've been following hockey for like 4 days now. What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, man. I don't think as many fights will break out as what did in that first game with 3 and 9 seconds.
It's hard for any hockey game to top that as far as fights go, but the intensity will be obviously because this is for the championship.
Right.
So the hits and just like, you're just going to be able to feel the tension.
Exactly. I think the aggressiveness will be there from the start. And that's kind of what I mean by like Canada will be out for blood. I don't think they'll try and like take the gloves off and go for a fight right away, although that may end up happening in some scenarios. But I think they are going to be very aggressive. There was some big hits laid on Canada in that first game, especially by the Kachuk brothers, who were just like, they were not playing around. But So yeah, I think that will be how we will see the aggressiveness in this game for sure.
I'm so torn on this, not just from like a rooting perspective, because it's obviously the two countries that I've called home in my life, but also from who I think will win. Because like my gut really says Canada is probably going to win, but I cannot shake the idea that the United States has a massive advantage as far as goalies go. They have Connor Hellebuck, who is much better than Canada's goalie. I think Jordan Binnington will start tonight, but I mean, whoever they have this starting is not as good as Connor Hellebuck, the United States goalie. And in hockey, oftentimes just having a goalie that can figuratively, not literally, stand on their head and just not let anything through, no matter how many shots they face, is obviously the difference. He's already had some great saves in this Four Nations face-off, and he did have some good ones. You call them saves in hockey, right? Yeah,
similar to soccer. But he had some really good ones in the first game. So I would imagine he's going to be on top of his game again tonight. Yeah.
So I feel like Canada, if they want to get the win, they're at a bit of a disadvantage in net, which means they really need to lock down elsewhere defensively. But I still feel like something tells me Canada gets the win in the United States. In Boston, they go into hostile territory and defend their crown as the hockey's Canada's game.
Yeah, I mean, it could end up being a split. We saw the U.S. win in Canada, and we may see Canada win in the U.S. So I think that'll just add fuel to the fire for this rivalry moving forward.
But I could also see it, like there's, in my mind, the New York Giants, when they ended, like the way they kind of got in the Patriots' head back in the day with Tom Brady, maybe the U.S. just has that factor.
They're
scrappy.
Just
not afraid of Canada.
They're scrappy.
On the menu today, it is the new Orange Cream Coca-Cola. We have both the full calorie version and the zero sugar version. And it's the year of cream in soda.
Apparently, because we seem to keep trying these.
Now, we have both versions. We traditionally try the full calorie version first.
Yeah, the original.
And you're more of a Coke fan than Pepsi?
Yes.
So you probably have higher hopes for this than... But how do you feel about orange?
You can certainly smell the citrus. It's like pretty right there in your face, Orange... It's hitting you.
Yeah. I thought it would kind of taste more like a creamsicle than it does. But that is kind of what, like, it's not just orange Coke. When you go orange cream, it has a little bit of that, like, orange and a little vanilla hint to it.
Yep.
And
I actually really like that.
It's pretty nice.
Yep. I think it's a fun mix of the citrus, but also, like you said, like the vanilla cream type of thing. So... I may end up stealing the rest of that bottle from you.
Well, you can have the full calorie one as long as the zero sugar version holds up. And I typically enjoy zero sugar. Like, that's what I normally drink.
Yeah, you drank the whole Pepsi one that we did with the wild cherries and cream. You drank the whole... what was that? Was like a diet version, or do they have a zero?
Was zero, yeah.
Okay.
But it actually had 5 calories, I think.
Oh, that's right.
This one does not have any calories. So I like to see that. But we found out again in the past that when we do the flavors side by side, the same supposed flavor, there is a wild difference a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, they have to try and achieve the ability of no sugar, no calories somehow.
Yeah.
So there's some chemicals in there. I
hope that this, in this case, though, it's very similar because I like the full sugar version.
The smell is slightly different, though. Do a little smell test real quick.
It's not quite as strong of a smell, is it?
Yeah. This smell is much better of the original. Like, it actually does smell like orange. This smells a little more chemically.
Yeah, and when you try them side by side, I feel like the zero version is fine. But when you compare it to the full version in this case, I feel that the full version has much more vanilla and it is creamier and it is called orange cream. This tastes much more like kind of like a regular Coke Zero with a little orange splashed in there.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Not a lot of cream.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the Coke Zero flavoring, which I'm not a huge fan of Coke Zero. I drink Diet Coke. So I feel like Coke Zero always leaves a bad aftertaste in my mouth. I know I say this all the time about the Zero ones, but it leaves a bad aftertaste in my mouth. And Diet Coke is the one diet drink that I have found that doesn't do that for me. But yeah, I don't like the Zero one as much as the OG.
I don't think it would change things, but I almost wish I didn't try the OG.
Yeah.
The OGOC CC, because it tastes so much better than the other one, which is fine. I'm not like when we had the wild cherries and cream Pepsi, the Zero version I was excited about. I wanted to drink that.
Yeah, it was close enough.
This, I don't know that I'll have a lot of competition. Most other people here don't drink Coke Zero. So I can probably have it to myself, but I'm not as fired up to drink it. But the full calorie version, very good.
Very good, and I will take it gladly.
It's a food fight.
Hudson, we talk a lot about sports here on the show, and I think it's mainly because we obviously both love sports. We enjoy watching them. But I do think it's interesting that we live in a world that really does preach the whole idea of us versus them. And that's not only with sports, which is kind of natural in sports because it's two teams or two people going up against each other. But in everything we see, whether it's the news, social media, just everything around us, constantly it's pitting people against one another.
Yeah.
It's like they have to be in this category and you have to be in this category and you are fighting because of this reason.
Like we're all wearing jerseys for whatever our team is, and yeah, there can only be one champion.
Exactly. It's an us versus them mindset. And what I love about a relationship with God is it really turns that mindset on its head. It changes that whole concept of us versus them, and it says, no, you no longer are in a place where it's us versus them, because we're all together made in the image of God. We are all loved by God, and He all wants everyone to have a relationship with Him. And I think that's the beauty of Him so much, is He wants to redeem you, and there really is no need for that us versus them anymore, which causes so much turmoil.
Yeah, it definitely does. And yeah, you've probably heard it a million times, but we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
In that regard, we don't have to fight. And like, honestly, not only is that, I feel like, something that's helpful to hear if you've never had a relationship with God, but for some people that do, you almost get locked into a mindset because everything is so we're on a team fighting against somebody else that like other people can't have a relationship with God. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Almost like gatekeeping God.
Yeah, right. Like, oh no, they can't believe that. They can't have a relationship with Jesus because they think this. Like that's, and so don't let those barriers too. If you're somebody who's never talked to God before, don't let that stand in your way of what somebody else thinks you need to jump, a hoop you need to jump through, some team you need to switch.
Right.
You don't have to do that. The relationship with God comes first and other stuff comes after.
Exactly. So don't worry about what the world says and tries to pin you to or put you in a box for. Ignore all of that. Those labels matter nothing to God, they don't matter at all. So, I think we need to reject the whole mindset that this world tries to preach to us every single day, that it has to be us versus them. And instead, what we can say is no, even though they may be someone that disagrees with me or somebody that's on the opposite aisle of where I am, they are my brother, they are my sister, and I'm going to love them no matter what. That is the message of Christ, and it's a message that we should be able to get behind.
Yeah. And by the way, we're not saying that you can't have that tribal mindset, but we are saying that that's meant to be reserved for literally for sports.
For sports.
Basically, sports and video games is your natural okay outlet, for your healthy outlet for that. And elsewise, yeah, it's a relationship with God and treating other people better and not making it a team thing, but making it where we lift each other up. Exactly.
And if you want to know more about starting that relationship with God, the first place that you can go to learn more is by visiting RadioU.com/free gift.
Big announcement from Apple, their iPhone 16E. What does the E stand for?
I have no idea.
I don't know if they announced that part.
Economical.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
That might be what it is, because it is a cheaper iPhone. Now, of course, that means that's nice because, inflation running rampant. We're all running out of money.
And iPhones are extremely expensive.
They are even this one's the cheaper version, and it's what, like $600?
Yeah, that's it's crazy to think that that's a budget phone.
Yeah. You know how much I paid for my phone?
How much?
Which is not an iPhone. I think $25.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How'd you pay $25 for it?
I'm on Boost, and it's not a very fancy phone.
Okay. Yeah, I did not pay that amount for my phone. I have a Samsung, but it is like on the higher end, or at least it was when I got it.
Yeah.
So I did pay quite a bit, but I was like on a little payment plan, which I don't recommend. I hate that that's a
The
thing.
payment plans, they make it seem cheaper at first.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense in a way.
I mean, I was in college.
Spread out a big cost over time without having to pay interest.
Right. Well, I mean, when you're a college student, you don't have money to pay up front.
You don't have a lump sum.
But now I definitely would not agree with the idea of going into debt for a cell phone.
Well, especially when there's some available from Boost for $25. Right. And have you heard me complain about my phone? Not really. We should be talking about the iPhone S, whatever it's called, 16E.
16E.
Their $600 budget phone. So here's some of the sacrifices you would have to make to get this cheaper iPhone. It does not include MagSafe. Honestly, what is MagSafe?
I have no idea.
Dang it, we are the worst people to be talking about this.
We need Nene in here.
He has an iPhone, but his is old too.
I know, but he's up with the technology, right? He knows these stuff.
I don't know about that. But I do like how you said up with the technology.
I know, I really sound old right now.
Your grandma energy just went through the roof. It has a dynamic. It does not have a dynamic island, which is something I always look for in a phone.
I know.
I said when I got this $25 phone, I said that thing better have a dynamic island.
Apparently, this is the camera notch up at the top where it'll like disappear or whatever, so that it doesn't bother you.
Mine has a hole for the camera on the front facing camera.
The Samsung phones, I think, have that too, where it's like you can see the whole screen around the camera notch. Some of the Apple phones, at least the older ones, do not have
it's
that.
Like how most phones used to be before they started putting the notch in. They put the notch in first.
Yes. And now you can see around the camera. So this doesn't have that.
Got it. It does not have a camera control button. It has no ultra wide lens, no SIM card slot, and you can only get it in black or white. How much is getting your phone in aquamarine or pink really worth to you?
I guess you should have to pay $400 more.
I know you can get clear cases, but like, who doesn't put a case on their phone anyway?
Exactly. I mean,
and you can get a case whatever color you want. So what does it matter what color the phone is?
My phone is black, like inside, but it has a black case. But yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't think most people actually know what the color of your real phone is. You don't even think
about it. Yeah, mine could be anything, quite honestly. I will say that as a man, picking out a phone case is very difficult because if you want anything that's not just completely basic color, it's all girly. It's like you can, the only prints you can get are like flowers.
Yeah.
Maybe camo, which doesn't fit me either. And so like there's no like, you need
like a sports one.
Masculine, yeah. But
you need to be able to
of money.
You need
I would have had to pay more for that case
than for my
phone. If you have any thoughts on iPhones, like let us know. Is this the 16E? Does it sound good to you? Because Allie and I guess apparently we have no idea.
I mean, we don't know if it's any good. I would imagine if it's an iPhone, it probably works mostly the same as regular iPhones. But I guess you're sacrificing a few of the luxuries compared to if you got the regular price one.
Who wants to do that? If you're going to just put it on a payment plan anyways, might as well get the most expensive one. All right, we have a given topic, Allie and I. We each get to pick the best from the topic and the worst from the topic. You decide which of the two of us made better choices at 8772 RadioU. Today's topic, months. What is the first month, as in the best, and what is the worst? Allie, I got to pick last time, so you have the honors of going first and first to worst.
What? I got to go first last time with
I did.
with the dating shows.
I definitely went first.
I don't remember now, but okay, I'll go first. Okay, so should I start with my first or should I start with my
Whatever
worst?
you want.
Okay, well,
Make your case.
I'll start with my first one because I feel a little bit more confident about that. My worst one, it was a little harder to pick, but for my first one, I think I'm actually going to go with, and again, this was not easy because I did have a close second, and I'll share that too. But my first one is actually the month of October.
Whoa.
And the reason is I love the month of October because of the weather. We've actually been blessed here in, RadioU Ohio land that with some better weather in October. Mm-hmm. And so I like the change of the season. I'm an autumn person, so I love the fall and the changing of the leaves and how pretty they are. I think it's just a beautiful time of year, and the weather's not too bad. And also Halloween's fun. But for me, it's actually more of a sports thing. So you have the October of baseball. Obviously, you got postseason.
Playoffs.
You got the World Series. And you also have some of the best games in football. Because as we all know, people say don't take September too seriously in college football. But October is when it starts to really matter. And so you start to get some of those bigger games and bigger matchups. So I feel like it's a good sports equinox of you have a big moment of playoffs for baseball, which is a big sport for me, but then you also have football coming in with some great games. So I like the mix of the two there. For my worst, I actually went with April.
April?
I did. I went with April, and and I feel less confident about it because Easter is usually in April. It can be in March, but Easter's obviously a great holiday. We love the rising of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Is often in April.
Yeah, often in April, but can be in March as well. So I was like, whatever. But the reason I don't like April as much is because of the whole April showers bring May flowers. I just feel like overall sometimes you get some pretty not great weather in April.
Yeah.
It can be pretty crummy out and gloomy. I'm not a gloomy person. I'm a very sunshiny person. I like to be optimistic, and the sun can be a little, or the rain can be a little bummer for me sometimes. So even though it's necessary, we need the rain.
Yeah.
But that's my main reasoning why.
Okay. Let me tell you why you're wrong. I'll do my picks. I'll start with the worst. The worst month.
Also, I need to say, April starts off on the worst day of the year.
April Fools. That's horrible. It's right up there with Pi Day and Star Wars Day.
That is the absolute worst day of the year, and so that's a big reason why I chose April.
All right, good choice. For that reason, that's a good choice. However, otherwise, you're wrong because you're completely missing the month of February, which is the whole reason we're doing this right now. February is my pick for the worst. There's no real holidays. Some, federal employees, they get holidays off all the time. But there's no real President's Day isn't a real holiday. Okay. There's no real you don't even get Super Bowl Monday off, most of us. And the Super Bowl cannot save February. The weather is almost inarguably the worst. No matter where you live in the United States, you're probably most likely to have the worst weather in February, right?
Sure.
You're snow, you could get rain. The best case scenario is it gets to 40 degrees somewhere. February has the worst, and there's not a lot to distract you. There's not a lot of sports.
My parents were just in Florida, and it was 70 degrees.
If you're in Florida, you can't participate, I think, in this at all. The best month of the year is, you're close to October, it's September.
Oh!
Because September gives you a taste of fall and summer at the same time. Mix. And for sports, obviously, it has almost as many sports going on. And also because it's the very beginning of the season for football. And, it's right before the very beginning of the season for baseball or for hockey and basketball. It's exciting. Everybody has hope in September, except for the bad baseball teams. Everybody has hope. You have a holiday. You have Labor Day in September. A lot of people take vacations around that. So you get a vacation time. And, even if you're going back to school or whatever, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. You get some fall, you get some summer, you get the best of both worlds. That's why September is better than October. And February definitely worse than April.
I don't know. April Fool's Day is pretty hard to beat. But I will say, I'm shocked you didn't choose my close second for best month, which is December. The reason I didn't choose December as best month is because I feel like it's always busy. Yeah, there's lots going on. But Christmas, the magic of Christmas.
Yeah, but
it's so beautiful.
I would have picked July before I picked December. because July has summertime and July 4th.
Yeah.
8772 Radio U. Who has the better first and worst months of the year? Let us know. Radio U, where music is going. We are doing first to worst here on Radio U mornings. 8772 Radio U. You can let us know who is more correct. Allie, you had the first pick in our month's first to worst. Mm-hmm. And you have went with?
I went with first for being October and the worst being April.
And I went with September being the best, the first, and February being the worst. Responses coming in from Regina, who says, first of all, Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day would disagree on September as the best. She's also voting for you because February is my birth month. The weather is not great, but still. But Regina, that's almost... It's not entirely chance, but like think about how bad February would be if it wasn't your birthday. Lisa says January is the worst. January is up there because, you have to come back down from Christmas and everything and go into a month. But at least January has Martin Luther King Jr. Day. You've still got some football
like the
games
new
going
year.
on.
A lot of people are optimistic at the start of the new year. But the weather is also not great in January.
But she says, it sounds like she's voting for me because she says, as someone who works in accounting, April sucks.
I said April was the worst.
Oh, that's right. You did. Susanna says voting for Allie partially because everyone hating on February annoys me. Well, it deserves to be hated on. Worst is December because it's so busy and I like routine.
It's a busy month. So that's why I didn't end up going with December because it's just like your schedule gets chocked full, even though it's like the time where we're supposed to be focusing on family and like important things. And we're just running around like crazy people during December.
Well, one thing I have learned is you can say no.
That's true.
In December, which helps.
That's true.
We all need to learn a little bit about that.
But does it happen? No.
No. You can say no to that. Trevor says September is the perfect balance. It's summer's last hurrah without the sweating. February is just cold with no fun. Hudson nailed it. So Trevor, at least, is on my side. We also heard from Amy, who says football, hoodie weather, no Valentine's Day pressure. September is king. Going with me. February sucks.
September is king.
Yeah, I'm getting some support here. I like this.
Well, I think overall it's clear that my picks were better.
I think it's debatable. I think if it wasn't for Regina's birthday, I think we'd all...
Hey, Lisa is an accountant. She realizes how bad tax season is. April's not great.
I wish, you know what? I wish people would start their taxes earlier. Why do we all put them off?
That's true.
Probably because a lot of people have to pay. That makes sense. Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.